Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another weekly forecast. And before we get started, I'm just going to quickly give you a run through on how last week was, what the setups were, and pretty much how much manipulation we ended up having. So last week, the main setup that we caught was from this sell zone at 1972. We managed to catch around about 150 200 pips on that trade after price then came back up for CPI and actually wanted to finish the move. It was a clean sell zone entry from a wick, which was an instant 100 pips, and then the next day we did drop even further, and thus then retracing before CPI. Now this was a retracement move of this impulse move. You can see the sell zone here. Again, if you want to actually know my actual sell zone levels rather than just having the box and the reason why that's there, be sure to use the links in the description to get access to VIP, as I have a full course on there explaining my strategy. But a lot of manipulation was being inputted into the market last week. You can see that we ended up having, very strong dumps and very strong pumps back up rather than continuations. You can see that price came back to that high to take out these SLs, and I must admit that I did take mine out. I did share this, but again, risk was managed, so if it took it out, it didn't matter. We ended up catching another 100 pip move on the next setup. CPI, on the other hand, I was expecting price to push higher. It did not. It used this week to come back and fill, and then ended up dropping. I wasn't actively trading that because I know I was waiting for PPI, and then we ended up catching a nice strong buy off the PPI release, which was around about US session, which was here. So and then it ended up reversing as it did, which was then going to attack the lows, which I marked up as well. And once it did that, you can see then after that, this was the liquidity stage I was talking about last week, saying that price could basically attack either one, and you can see it targeted the lower end of liquidity. It then retested into this order block here where we have this imbalance, and look at that. I just noticed this now actually. We had this imbalance level here, and if you look across where the white dash line is, that's where price basically touched into and then bounced off of. So you could use that as a buying area if you're using that, and then you could have even used 1919 as an SL. That would have been interesting to look at, but obviously that's already happened. You can see once price ended up collecting that liquidity, we bounced back up into the range quite heavily and broke some of the prior highs, and this was obviously Friday, so it's sort of creating a reversal setup, but I don't think it's a reversal setup at the moment, and here's why. Okay, now this sort of leads us into next week's forecast, so I'll just delete off all of this sort of stuff that we've got here. Give me a second. So next week, what we're looking for is, by looking at structure, obviously the main aim is to get back above 1980, which is this blue area here at the top. We still have a lot of liquidity sitting up above 1970, so that's obviously the first target, but the question is, will it take that out before some sort of retracement? So what happened on Friday is price then came back to take out these lows here. It still didn't take out the daily open. Actually, wait, did it? It came back to take out the daily low, which it did. Price came back, took out the daily low, and in terms of 15-minute structure, I believe it didn't break this low. Yep, it didn't. So this low is still intact, as you can see here. Price is sort of trying to push back up, which I think it still can. So what price could do is we could move up here, push above this liquidity level at 1970. Depending on what sell reaction we get, price could fall back down, take out all the prior lows, force people into selling, and then price could then retrace, do the sort of thing where price sort of pumps, depending on structure, how if there's a lot of breaks, it could sort of climb, take out the 1980 level, and once this is taken out, we could start seeing price continue in its direction. The reason why I say this is because price has taken out the lower end liquidity here. It's now going to attack the main liquidity area, which is above 1980, is what I'm thinking. And once it's done that, it will then continue its actual direction, because that's what it usually does. Is we take out the liquidity, then the actual move begins. What actual trend are we in at the moment? Is we are in a downtrend with consolidation. Do we continue? And that's what I'm looking for. That's what, the main targets for 1905 to 1900 are for the bearish setup, obviously. Now, in terms of the bullish setup, this is what I'll be looking for. So that'll be my bearish setup. Obviously, that's going to be the main setup I'm looking for. But in terms of the bullish setup, again, if price wants to pull up, push down immediately, if we get this pullback here, I'll be looking to buy. The reason is because this area at the top is still vacant. It's still not being cleared out. So you're better off taking a buy here after this consolidation. Buyers are sitting around about 1930. They're pushing price up. Again, 1940. Price pushes up. Again, pushes up. So again, once price was at 1940, it pushed up. So if you come back here, your chances are pretty high to get some sort of buy reaction. So, and this is a retest of the support. This would be a buy zone as well. You're likely to get some sort of setup like this. Let's just leave that SL for now. We probably might find a tighter one if this was an actual setup. And you're likely to get something like that. A push all the way up. So that's my buy scenario. If you want to use that, you can be my guest. And price will likely sort of push back up to the 2000s is what I would like to target. If price wants to harshly push back down tomorrow or Tuesday, because it's past 12 o'clock. Yeah, as you can see in the top right. Pretty much that's it. Yeah, I've given you two scenarios. If price wants to not break lower and wants to continue pushing up at the moment, wait for the sells, because price will come back down to fill into this 1940 area. It may not be yet, but yeah, you have your two scenarios. You have your buy scenario, you have your sell scenarios. That's all I can provide for you guys. It's been Statics. Peace out.